What's up, Buffalo Bill fans? I know I did a video yesterday, but I wanted to come to another one really quick because it's not significant news, but to me, I think it's definitely a good sign, more good signs. 7 guys released today. I know the new staff, when Gailey had his press conference, stated that they were doing a quote-unquote, like most coaching staffs do, even coaching staffs that aren't new. They basically assess the roster, evaluate their guys, see where they want to go personnel-wise, etc., etc. And you see today, I guess after that evaluation is completed, namely 3 guys who have been on Buffalo's roster the last 4 years be released. Well, 2 years, sorry. One was 2 years, the last 3 years for one. You have Justin Jenkins, a wide receiver who didn't catch a pass in Buffalo and just was a special teams gunner. Derek Fine, who scored 1 touchdown, caught like a handful of passes, but again mainly played on special teams or was injured most of the time. And John Wendling, who seemed to be a bit of a fan favorite, but again a guy who didn't have the ability to play within the scheme of the defense. Again, just a special teams guy, a guy who had an interception off of a punter in the 6 INT Jet game this past season. And those are the kind of guys that I like to call, like I call the Jauron guys. The guys are nice guys, they seem like good people, but definitely guys who, only having the ability to have 46 guys active on the roster, aren't going to help your team if somebody goes down on the other side of the ball and be productive. And that's what you need, especially in today's game, whether it be defense or offense. You need a guy who's just going to be more for you than a special teams player. I mean, you have maybe 1 or 2 of those guys on your roster on the 46 tops, but you don't have Jauron. It was a lot of guys. I mean, you have your long snapper Garrison Sanborn, then you have obviously the 2 kickers, then you have Wendling, Jenkins. Ashley Palmer was also cut, a guy who got to play in the base defense but really didn't show much ability, showed some athleticism, but definitely maybe not the ability. But again, he's a guy who made the 53-man roster last year. And I think this is where you're going to see guys like the Marcus Buggses of the world, the John Cordos, the Keith Ellisons, the Corey McIntyres. You're not going to see those kind of guys on the roster anymore. And that's, again, seem like good guys, but thankfully those certain kind of guys like the Cordos, like the Wendlings, the Jenkins, the guys that were released today, what I like to call the Jauron type of guys were released. And I think that's, we're not looking for nice guys. We're looking for big, mean, nasty, physical football players, especially, again, playing in Buffalo, in the elements, outdoors. Switching to the 3-4 defense, the team is definitely going to, I think, beef up at linebacker in terms of size and in terms of numbers. I think that'll help the special teams, like I stated in my last video. And playing the 3-4, I don't know if I stated this in my last video. You play the 3 teams in your division 6 times a year. They all play that defense. You're playing 11 games next season against teams that have 3-4 defenses. Why not switch? Why not go back to your roots where you had success? It amazed me. A guy like Jauron, who was so educated and so knowing, and this supposed defensive guy, I was very content. I mean, with his style of defensive, allowing teams to go in between the 20s and then just trying to hold them to field goals, maybe give up a touchdown. But again, the offense was so porous, the defense wore down, and either got ran over late in games or was just so dejected mid-game they just gave up tons of big plays because of Jauron's sophisticated moving gap scheme that he had with his defensive line. I don't know if you ever heard him speak about it in the past, but it was highly annoying. But again, the original point was, I think it's a good sign. I think you had guys like Nix, guys like Whaley, and Nix to me is an outside hire. He was in the organization 10 years ago A lot has happened in 10 years in Buffalo. Obviously, no playoffs, but a lot has happened in terms of nothing. They're where they were. Actually, a lot worse, in my opinion. But a guy who's been with a winning organization, a few of them. Now you have Whaley, who's been with an organization for a long time, at least the last 18 years. They've been to the playoffs several times. They only missed it a handful, I think, with Pittsburgh. And I think he comes in and looks at some of these guys, and these guys can't make other NFL rosters. They got to go. And he's the pro personnel director, and I think that was definitely a good choice to have two fresh set of eyes come in, look at this thing, and say, well, I think we need to tear this thing down. And I really do think you're going to see a guy like Schobel probably retire or go. You're going to see Kelsey go. That's $13 million in cap space right there. That's time to turn the page. Sorry, time to turn the page. And I think the page took a good turn today. But nevertheless, Bills fans, I want to know what you think about these developments. Of course, the 50-50 talk about Trent Edwards possibly being the starting quarterback. I don't, unless he mentally had a lobotomy and has gained some confidence back under the new coaching staff, and I don't think he should be handed the starting job. But I definitely wouldn't be happy if he was the starter, unless the guy just has a complete, again, lobotomy. And wouldn't mind seeing him as the backup, but I definitely wouldn't want to see him be handed the starting job. No way, shape, or form, much like under Jauron, where he was just handed the starting job. Didn't really have adequate competition, and we've seen the results. But until then, Bills fans, I want to know what you guys think about this and what it could mean for the football team. Until then, take care.